Hi guys, welcome back to Dimitra's Dishes. So today I'm going to teach you a classic Greek recipe that is called αρνί κοκκινιστό με patates, which just translates to lamb braised in a rich tomato sauce with potatoes. It's going to be all cooked in one pot. Now in the past I've made a bunch of lamb recipes, but they've all been in the oven. This is kind of a go-to quick recipe that you can make on your stovetop. And you just throw everything in there and you pretty much forget about it. In 2 hours you have a delicious meal. Now let's go over the ingredients and then we're going to get started. I have some onions. I have 2 onions that I've sliced in my pot, and they've been cooking for the past 15 minutes over medium heat, and they're nice and soft and tender and like really translucent and good. So those are ready. I'm going to show them to you in a minute. Lots of garlic chopped up here. I love garlic, so I use lots of garlic. This is like 6 or 7 big cloves of garlic over here. Now if you don't like that much garlic, just put as much as you want, leave it out, whatever you want. But garlic I always have in my dishes, so I have that. I have a stick of cinnamon right here. We have 2 cans of tomatoes. These are diced tomatoes that have nothing else in them. They're just plain tomatoes, no salt, no spices. Crushed red peppers, black pepper, paprika, dried oregano, salt. We're going to use some water. We have lamb that's already been cut up. Now you can use lamb, goat meat, or beef for this, whatever you have and whatever you like. I just love the flavor of lamb. And then I have some potatoes that I have peeled that I'm just going to chop up later on before we add it in. Now let's get started. I'll take you close to my pot so I can show you my onions. So as you can see, I didn't chop up the onions really small. I basically just hand slice them, roughly. It doesn't matter. You don't have to, slice them all like a particular way. As long as they're cut up like this, they're fine, because they're pretty much going to melt and create a beautiful sauce. Now these are red onions, so they seem a little bit darker. You can use red onions or yellow onions, but pretty much you want them to be soft and translucent and slightly golden. And there's some oil in here too, obviously olive oil. I'm just going to add my garlic and let it cook for another 5 minutes. Not even too long, because the garlic as well is going to melt. The meat is going to cook for a really long time. So all of this is going to just create a beautiful rich sauce. So now the garlic doesn't really get translucent because that takes a little longer. It's just cooked a little bit in here with the onion. At this point, I'm just going to add all of my meat. So I just added my meat to this, my lamb meat, and this is about 4 pounds of assorted cuts of lamb. And I'm just going to let this cook just a little bit in the oil and in the onions, just stirring it in. We're not browning it or anything like that. Now at this point, I'm going to add my salt and my spices. I'm going to start with a teaspoon of salt, and then later on I'll check and see if we're going to need more. A little bit of black pepper. I'll put a teaspoon in here. Adjust the spices to your liking. Okay, I like my food spicy, so I add a little extra spice to my food. I like it nice and hot. Crushed red pepper flakes. That's a lot. So I would say if you're not used to eating spicy, start with a 1/4 teaspoon and move up and see little by little, adjust it to however much spice you like. A teaspoon of paprika, and that's going to add, make it nice and red. Tomato sauce is also going to do that. I put my cinnamon stick in there. And now my 2 cans of diced tomatoes. You can use crushed tomatoes, whatever tomatoes you find. And this is going to help create a beautiful sauce. And around 4 cups of water. I'm going to keep an eye on it, and I might need to add a little bit more water later, but for now we'll just start with the 4 cups. That might be just the right amount that we're going to need. I'm just going to put the lid on this and let it cook over medium heat for about an hour, and I'm going to continue to stir it, and I'll know when it's ready when the meat is really nice and soft, and that's it. We'll get back to it as soon as the meat is nice and soft. Alright, so the meat has been cooking on medium-high heat for an hour, and the water that we've added is starting, and the sauce is all starting to reduce. So I'm just going to take out at this point the cinnamon stick. I can smell the flavor that it's left. It smells the aroma actually that it's left. It's really beautiful. Now I'm gonna add my potatoes. I've cut my potatoes in pretty big chunks, so that way they don't get all like, you know, mushy in here when they're cooking. And I'm gonna let them cook in here for about another like 40 minutes. The meat has began to soften, so I'm gonna keep an eye on them. I forgot to cut this potato. Let me cut this one and put it back in. I'll add another teaspoon of salt in there for the potatoes. Give it a nice mix. And I'll add that last potato. I'll cut it into big chunks. And in about 30 to 40 minutes, this will be ready, and it's gonna thicken up. The sauce is gonna reduce a little bit more. I'm still gonna keep it on a medium-high heat, but I'm gonna continue to watch it so it doesn't burn, and continue to stir it, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's ready. All right, so the potatoes are done cooking. They've cooked for about 35 minutes. I've tasted the salt, and I've tasted I've checked the seasoning, that's what I meant to say, and I just added about a half a teaspoon more salt. I'm adding some chopped up parsley. You can add cilantro if you want, but parsley is really, I like parsley better in this. Now I'm just gonna give it a nice mix, and I'll show you what it looks like. It looks pretty darn good, let me tell you. It's healthy, it can feed a big crowd. Just look at that. It's thickened up beautifully. Now this over a little bit of rice or with some nice crusty rustic bread is to die for. You could even serve it over pasta if you like. But I'm just gonna taste it like this. I have rice cooking on the side. It should be ready in a little bit. And we'll eat this. I'll sit down with my family and eat a nice dinner later on. Let me just have a little bite of this for now. Some of the potatoes have broken up and melted and thickened the sauce just so beautifully. It smells like my childhood. That's what it smells like. It smells delicious. My mom used to cook this kind of food all the time, and we would alternate the lamb for chicken sometimes or beef. And you can really, like, this recipe is really versatile actually. Anyway, get the recipe. I'm going to post it on my website, dimitrasdishes.com. Post your comments down below. Share pictures with me on Facebook of how you've made these recipes, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.